Hello there, my name is Dr. Saleem Javed and we are talking about D.W. Griffith. As I have explained that D.W. Griffith is a very paradoxical figure in the beginning of the history of world cinema. He is considered as the father of Hollywood. He is considered as a person who invented a lot of film techniques. He is the one who is regarded very high when you talk about the beginning of cinema. He is somebody who has been, there is a huge allegation of him being a racial bigot, and he is the one who has been shunned by a lot of film academicians. But even after all this, we are studying about D.W. Griffith. Now, another very contradiction in Griffith is more challenging to reconcile and raise this fundamental question about the essence of film art itself, the coexistence of remarkable cinematic brilliance alongside the aforementioned intellectual and emotional superficiality due to the specific constraint or in his perception. Griffith was neither dishonest nor hypocritical. Nonetheless, he exhibited an alarming degree of intellectual narrowness for a prominent artist in any medium, in any media for that matter. Why so much of criticism about Griffith is being presented? I mean, I have been talking about that he is so and so, very very respectable guy. But when I explain, it is more about paradox, hypocriticality, bigotry, intellectual narrowness, and so much other sort of not so good about D.W. Griffith. I mean, you have been witnessing it. Now, this being said, he when you talk about D.W. Griffith, now understand the level he has achieved. When you talk about D.W. Griffith in cinema, as if you are talking about Tolstoy, War and Peace in terms of literature, or in terms of early literature, suppose you are talking about James Joyce, Ulysses. Now, can you do that in films? At one end you are talking about Tolstoy, on the other hand you are talking about Joyce, Ulysses, and then at one end we are talking about D.W. Griffith, about whom we have not been listening so good so far. We have not been listening so good so far, and we are comparing him, we are calling him the Shakespeare of cinema. We are saying that if you have read War and Peace by Tolstoy, so he is of that sort. If you have read Ulysses, he is of that sort. And what all we have been hearing for last during the lecture, that you can abhor him. Now, how this paradox can coexist? How this paradox can coexist? So, I am saying that there is a guy who is brilliant in terms of writing. He is so good as a modern day writer, or if you talk about film, he is so good as a director, and I take a popular name, but he is very controversial individual, and interestingly that is not that only D.W. Griffith. If it is happening only with D.W. Griffith, and after that it did not happen with anyone else, I wonder, there were a lot of people after D.W. Griffith, and lot of they were rooted in a lot of controversies. But when you look at the film, then you realize that these two films, now what makes D.W. Griffith unique? that it is not the controversy otherwise, his life or something like that. No, no. The controversy is from the film itself, about which he is being criticized for. But it is for the same film he is being praised also. And he is compared with War and Peace, Tolstoy and Ulysses Joyce. And that sort of individual we are talking about in terms of cinema. What kind of artist was this guy who made The Birth of a Nation, a movie about the end of the world that was so racist? Only the Nazis' Dar Ivan Jew, the eternal Jew, which was made in 1940, was more manipulative than this movie. I mean, this is one of the writer's observation, that it was so racist in nature that a film that he gives the example from 1940s film, The Eternal Jew, only that film was so racist in nature. Either this particular film was so racist in nature, or you are talking about The Birth of a Nation, it is as racist as Birth of a Nation, or it is as racist as The Eternal Jew, which was 1940, which was released in 1940. So these two films, when it comes to talking about racism or a racist film, so you talk about, either you talk about The Birth of a Nation or you talk about The Eternal Jew, which was released in 1940. So they are comparing which film is more racist in nature. Now this is so much about D.W. Griffith, that he is good or bad, what he has done, what he is called, what are the titles that people know him with, and what good or bad thing he has done. Now let's talk how he started, how he got into all this. Now David Waugh Griffith, also known as D.W. Griffith, was born in a rural area of Kentucky near the border with Indiana. He was the seventh child of Confederate Army Colonel. Griffith's mother moved the family to Louisville after the death of Griffith's father. And while Dickens was in similar situation, Griffith had to work to help support his family. Now, this is what this is how his life started. He was born in a rural area. He was the seventh child of his father and mother. Father died. Mother moved to Louisville, where to support his family, D.W. Griffith had to work. So, this is what the initial story of D.W. Griffith. Now, how he gets into cinema is very, very interesting. In fact, there are many similarities between the two artists, Dickens and D.W. Griffith. After a string of low-level jobs in Louisville, he got stuck in a rut and started touring the Midwest and a company that put on moving shows. Now, one very interesting thing about anybody who has got made a name in a particular business, be that Dhirubhai Ambani or be that D.W. Griffith, unless you have not lived the experience. There are two ways to start a work. One is that you have completed your education and then you enter and then you start doing. Another very time tested formula is that whatever you want to do, you start doing it from early age and then you excel as you grow old with your craft. Now, I am talking about 1900, the beginning of 1900. There is no film school for that matter as we have today. There is no cinematography course, or there is no sound course, or there is no place to go that I want to be director, or I want to be artist, or I want to be magician. There were tours happening, moving shows were happening, there were companies that were moving from one place to another place. There were magicians, there were fairs going on, circus was there, very popular medium of entertainment of those days. Circus was very, and there were touring groups or moving shows, and D.W. Griffith actually saw his calling there, and he became part of a moving show, and from the very beginning, and then he left his house, and then from 1897 to 1905, I said I am talking about early 1905, he worked as a drifter from Minneapolis to New York to San Francisco. He did this by jumping freight train, staying in flop houses, and doing a variety of jobs to get to the next one, such as shoveling ores and picking hops. So, whatever I mean to say, whatever he could get his hand on to, so, whatever he could manage, whatever he could do, whatever was in his capacity, he kept on surviving, by doing menial's job, and he did it for almost 7 to 8 years, and he was he was moving from places to places, learning from the people that he thought of worthy of learning from, doing things to survive, to buy his next meal, and this is how he kept feeding himself to get into the business of literature or performing arts, something like this. Now, Griffith went to San Francisco and got a very good part in the Nancy O'Neill's company's production of Elizabeth, the Queen of England in 1906. Elizabeth, the Queen of England was a very interesting production, and he then married Linda Everettson, and the company's young actress, and started writing his own play, The Fool and the Girl. Which he sold in $1,000, that point of time, $1,000, but the play did not do well, and he wrote some more, but it did not work out. Now, very interesting thing that I have been talking about how great he is. Now you are listening to that he was hopping from one place to another, surviving from one job to another, not for just a year or two, for 7, 8 years, and then he got a good part in Nancy O'Neill's company's production. The name of the production was Elizabeth, the Queen of England in 1906. So he got a good part. He wanted to. By the way, I mean, whether you have make it out or not, he wanted to be an actor. D.W. Griffith wanted to be an actor. He was a handsome man. I'll be showing his pictures in coming videos. D.W. Griffith was a very stylish, handsome man, and now you understand why he was stylish or handsome, because he wanted to be an actor. Now, D.W. Griffith gets this particular part and does it well, and then there is where he meets Linda, gets married, and then he writes a very, he wanted to be somebody, known as a literary figure. So he wrote a play called Fool and the Girl, and he sold this particular play in $1,000 at that point of time. Must have been a very, very huge amount, but unfortunately the play was not of that level as it was expected, and it did not do well. Within a week it died. He tried to write many more plays, but because his first play did not do well, so people did not take much interest in his more plays. Now, one very interesting thing, and why it is important to meet people, why it is important to talk to people, why it is important that people should know you, why it is important that you have a good relationship with people, people know you for good. Now, that exactly happened with D.W. Griffith. It was the New York in late 1907 that he ran into Max Davidson, an old friend and acting partner from Louisville. Davidson told him that he could make a living by selling stories to the new movie studios that had opened up in the city. Now, this is a very, very filmy situation, you know. So, when you are struggling, you are moving, you are going somewhere, you meet a friend of yours who has been your friend or acting friend, and he tells you, why don't you do this? And you say, no, 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 I am not interested in it. That is not my cup of tea. I am very comfortable with what I am doing. So sometimes it happens that you don't know what you can do more, and sometimes you need only a indication to go in that direction. Now, interestingly, Griffith was against the idea at the first place. Now, this is interesting that I am going to read, because he thought that being linked to the vulgar new medium would hurt his literary image. At this point, he did not know much about films and probably had never seen one. He thought they were terrible. How interesting it is. A man who is known for his films, the take he took in the film, I mean, the take of the film, the point of view of the film. About him, we are saying that he was against the idea at first because he thought that being linked to the vulgar new medium would hurt his literary image. And it is not some Tom, Dick and Harry that talking about. It is D.W. Griffith. Look at the perception he had. Look at the perception he had about filmmaking process. It's a vulgar new medium. And if he joins it, it would hurt his literary image. His play, which is sold for 1,000, didn't, it was scrapped later on. Even if it was scrapped, look at the mindset he has, that it would hurt his literary image if he joins this vulgar new medium. And his friend is telling, okay, if you really want to work, there is a possibility, go and work there. And he says, no, 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 I am not going because I don't like it. Now, interestingly, nonetheless, he needed sustenance. Now, this is really, really interesting. I always say you love it, abhor it, but if you need it, you will do it. And same thing happened with D.W. Griffith. Doesn't matter whether he liked it or not, doesn't matter what sort of an image he has of himself in his mind, he went there. And screenplays were priced at approximately $5 each. Now, think of a mindset, please. This is really important. It is not only about film studies, about life studies also. Suppose you have got a project, you have completed a project. In this particular case, he has written a play for which he got $1,000 in 1906. $1,000 in 1906. The amount was such that he got married also, and then he could afford to write more also, and then things did not go well also. Then he meets his friend also, tells him, okay, there is some work, if you go there, if they like you, they will give you $5, approximately $5, not exactly $5, approximately $5 for each screenplay. Obviously screenplays were not written at that point of time, these were scenarios writing. So he produced an uncredited adaptation of Sardou's play La Tosca under his pseudonym Lawrence Griffith. Now look at this, that he wants it, he is not able to survive, he needs food, but the image that he was protecting, that I am a literary figure, I have written a play, and what if people come to know that sorry, not Edwin Potter, D.W. Griffith has written a play, has written the screenplay or the scenario of a film, how degrading it is for his own status. So, he used a pseudonym, or rather the stage name, his stage name of those time, Lawrence Griffith, not D.W. Griffith, Lawrence Griffith. So, Lawrence Griffith can be anybody, and it is I am D.W. Griffith, I haven't written it. So, that sort of a precaution he was taking while writing. And you know who, about for whom he was writing? He was writing for Edwin S. Potter. If you remember, I was talking about when I was talking about the Great Train Robbery, that same director, Edwin S. Potter. Edwin S. Potter comes, he goes to meet Edwin S. Potter, and he presents his scenario, or today it as screenplay. And interestingly, Edwin S. Potter completely rejects it, and rejects it on a ground that it has got lot of scenes in it, and but he was very charmed, or he was very much bewitched, or he was very much liked the way Edwin S. This D.W. Griffith's personality was. So, he liked him and said, forget this, why don't you act in my film? So, there was a project going on called The Rescued from an Eagle's Nest, and so he was given $5 per day as as an actor. Now, interestingly, that film was made. This is a film which is available. People during their film appreciation courses see these sort of films, and once this was over, Edwin S. Potter said, thank you, I don't need you. Yes, Edwin S. Potter says thank you, D.W. Griffith, your work is done, I don't need you. So, that is one very interesting story in terms of D.W. Griffith when it comes to Edwin S. Potter and D.W. Griffith. Now, next very interesting development happens once once Edwin S. Potter says goodbye to him. Now, understand what D.W. Griffith has by now. Okay, this is not the slide. This is for you to understand. Now, understand what D.W. Griffith has by now. He has a lot of experience of traveling shows. He has written a play. He has tried to write more plays. Second strength. So, one is that he is widely travelled. He has his contacts. People know him that he is into acting. Second, he is trying to be a literary figure. Obviously, his education was not of that sort, and maybe that is one of the reasons that he was not able to become a writer, a known writer. Because when I was talking about Dickens, I said he had to leave his education to support his family. Same case was D.W. Griffith. Now, the third thing is that he is a performer, got good part, and got money, got married, sold scripts and everything. Now he is in touch with Edwin S. Potter, by then a big name. He takes him in his film. He acts in that particular film. So now he's like he has got experience of lot of things. Now in 1908, Biograph faced significant difficulty. Uh, it was under the debt of $2 lakh financially, and they were looking for a director. Okay, and D.W. Griffith was trying or approaching things or studios as an actor or as a writer, less of a writer, more of an actor. Now, before I close this particular lecture, D.W. Griffith is like he goes to Biograph. The team of Biograph says, okay, you have worked with Edwin S. Potter, thank you, you are an actor, very good, very good. Why don't you direct films for us? Now, this is what you know D.W. Griffith for. And he says, no, ladies and gentlemen, I have come here to write or to act if I get a chance. Now you are giving me the responsibility to direct. Suppose if I am not able to direct a film, I will lose my writing opportunity or I will lose my acting opportunity. Now the people from Biograph assured D.W. Griffith that something like this will not happen. We assure you, kindly you direct the film. Because what was happening, that all those people who had some experience of directing films were already employed, and Biograph as a studio was under huge pressure, not only money wise, reputation wise also, because they were not able to churn out films as they were expected to do. So ladies and gentlemen, I am closing my lecture at a point, at a juncture, that D.W. Griffith is known for the direction, and this is how he got the opportunity. I'll be explaining more. Thank you very much.